Hi, beautiful. I am Jaazy, and I'm so happy to have you back on this side of the internet. Today, we're going to be talking about people pleasing. This is something close to my heart because I used to struggle with this bad, bad for majority of my life. And of course, we know that people pleasing is doing things to please other people, but honestly, that's giving people pleasers too much credit. There is so much under people pleasing. Like, you really have to ask the question of why. And as you recover it, you realize that yes, while people pleasing is appeasing others, it's really for selfish motives. And this is really hidden under the surface. It's important to give ourselves grace on this process. But as a retired people pleaser myself, I can speak for my journey and others that I've talked with that there are some main reasons that really stick out as to why people please. The main three that we're going to be talking about today are preservation, progress, and pride. Starting with preservation, this is where I would say I fell as a people pleaser. Essentially, it stems from a large amount of insecurity. Feeling the need to constantly be validated by other people, preserving your social status, preserving your sense of worth in yourself by being validated by others. And in order to be validated by others, either acting in a way that is pleasing or that would make someone else very happy, or being very passive and just letting anything slide as to not, disqualify yourself from being validated by them. And this is honestly a very sad place to be and a very dangerous place to be because you are essentially at the hands of the people around you. You may not believe that you're enough on your own, and so you are waiting to get that validation from other people. Second, progress. Now, this can seem really icky, really eerie, but really we all do it on our day-to-day life. From acting really nice to your boss to get them to like you, to those kids who compliment you and say sweet things before asking you if they can have an extra piece of dessert. We are primed to be people pleasers for progress. And honestly, this is a very common manipulation tactic. As humans, we are born imperfect and we are not always good with each other. And I would say that this inherent human habit becomes really problematic people pleasing when it is a consistent habit. When every person you meet, you're finding yourself wondering how they can help you get one step ahead or how they can help you with XYZ, or you're not going to be friends with people or be around people unless they're able to get you further in life. And a lot of times today we throw around these phrases like, if they're not helping me get to where I want to be, let them go. If they're not helping you grow, let them go. But let's be so real. There are some phases of life where you're not helping other people grow. Do you want them to just throw you away in those seasons where maybe you're in a hard place, you're weak, you're vulnerable, and you can't help them grow? I mean, what friends would they be if they just left you in those moments where you may be more of a burden? And of course, there are healthy boundaries, maybe things that would need to shift when that happens. But all in all, just saying that this progress as a motivation can become very toxic when it comes to people pleasing. Side note on this, as I've been growing in my professional journey, I think that this specific area of people pleasing is part of why networking can sometimes be so awkward, because as you're growing out of these toxic habits, like being a people pleaser, you are more aware of them and you want to make sure that you're not feeding back into them. So then when it comes to talking with people, getting to know new people, being aware and just letting things flow naturally instead of accidentally slipping back into this. And the third main reason for people pleasing, pride. This is when you believe you are the most perfect person on the earth and everyone else has to know it too. It really comes from wanting to control the narrative. And ironically enough, being very prideful actually is a big sign of insecurity in the sense that you are creating this image of yourself in your head, but you're not really confident that that image is real. And so because of that, you have to hold all of this pride and, whether consciously or subconsciously, walk through your life trying to prove that to other people and have them reinforce that back to you. So I don't know if you've ever met someone, let's say they have a lot of pride in the job that they have. Let's say they work at a Fortune 500 company, and this is what they have decided is the foundation of their worth, of their value, and they're just super proud of it, which is a great thing. You should be proud of yourself, but in a way where now this is where they're finding their identity. This is where their pride is coming from. You're going to find that somehow, I don't know how you having a cold was related to their job or how you forgetting your keys at home somehow related back to something that happened at work. But they are always going to be bringing up this Fortune 500, whatever thing that they have, because they need to reinforce and hear that reinforcement from other people that they're validated in what they see as a core part of their value in their life. I don't know if that makes sense. And we all have this for ourselves. That's why I will say, like, one of my biggest accomplishments that I've made, I literally have only told like a handful of people, my parents, and haven't shared about it online. And I think for me in the stage that I'm at, it's like making sure that you're keeping those things that you are proud of in a little box on the side and remembering that they don't define who you are. You don't need to know what I accomplished in order to know who I am as a person, and vice versa. I don't need to know what other people necessarily accomplished to know who they are as a person. And it makes for just healthier relationships in general, because now you're not walking through life waiting for people to validate you and feeling like you always need to validate other people. No, you're putting your accomplishments, you're putting your accolades, you're putting your embellishments to the side and letting people see the real authentic you, and vice versa. And it just allows for such healthier relationships. Now, I kind of got ahead of myself, but we're going to go into 3 main principles to help you combat each of these 3 areas and sources of people pleasing. So the first source of people pleasing that we discussed was preservation. Now, in order to combat this, you have to know that you'll be okay. You were okay before you met these people, and I promise you're gonna be okay after. And in order to reinforce this to yourself, I would encourage you to take care of yourself in better ways. Take care of your health. What are you eating? Are you moving your body? Take care of your goals. Are you taking steps towards them every day? Keep promises to yourself. And with that, know that God is always with you. Like, I think that we try so hard to do this by ourselves. We try so hard to let ourselves know that we will be okay. And there's always something else that we need to grab on. We can never do it ourselves. And I have found through my journey that the best thing to hold on to is God and His truths and His promises. And it's really the best foundation for knowing that you will be okay. Whatever happens, whoever comes into your life and whoever leaves. Additionally, this helps you to know that it's not only you preserving you, it's God that's preserving you. And from this place of having more confidence, now you can really combat this people pleasing, which really comes from a toxic place internally of wanting other people to validate you. Now, once you've come to a space where you realize you're gonna be okay, you don't need other people to validate you, and you can stop ignoring signs that they probably don't even respect you or like you. And this isn't something to take personally. No one has the capacity to value everyone at the same level. So it's just more about being aware of where you fit in other people's lives. And once you have the freedom of trusting and believing that you will be okay, you can be aware of that instead of acting and moving through life pining for other people's validation. Now, no one's going to be perfect. No friend is going to be perfect. But here are some signs to look out for as you're starting to become more aware and realize the signs around you. First is leaving you out if you're in the same space. Now, everyone has their own lives, but if you're in the same space as people and you find that they're having conversations and keeping you out of them, or they're leaving you on one side of the room, if that happens repetitively, that just means that they're not prioritizing including you in their space, and just take that for what it is. Next, of course, talking negatively about you behind your back. Now, this can be a little like messy, but when it comes to just like gossip, and if someone is generally tearing you down, not like trying to help you, then take that as a sign. Next is only communicating with you when you need something. Now, as a people pleaser, this is where people will get you because you want them to validate you and to have you in their life. You are a yes man. You will always say yes when someone wants you to do something. And at a certain point, you just have to stop doing that. So if people are only communicating with you when you need something, whether consciously or subconsciously, just please feel free to say no and move accordingly. Next is sly comments. Now, if someone is consistently saying things that are slightly tearing you down, slightly demeaning, but not directly, also a sign that maybe they don't respect you. And lastly, not being present with you. If someone is always on their phone when you're around them, if they're never really asking about how you're really doing, those kinds of things, take that as a sign that they might not really be valuing their time with you. And depending on the friendship, I would always recommend having conversations with people before jumping to conclusions. But now that you're at a point where you're not a people pleaser, where you're able to identify toxic signs, you now have the ability to address them. And like I said, a key part of this is not taking it personally. Just take it as a sign of how much that person is valuing you or respecting you in that certain time or season. And sometimes moving accordingly looks like only removing yourself emotionally, not even changing how you're acting, but just changing your emotional expectations for what the relationship is. Sometimes it does look like taking time back. But at the end of the day, know that you will be okay and you don't need approval from people who may not even respect you in the first place. Next, progress. Being a people pleaser for the sake of your own progress. You have to learn to trust the process. You cannot be in control of the process. And not only that, but when you are people pleasing in order to make connections, you create a very unhealthy dynamic between you and the other party where you're almost subservient to them in a way. And also they're probably not respecting you because like, why are you on me that bad? Like what? Like calm down. Like what's that? Like Dr. Umar said, at ease, my queen. Like at ease.
You look so good on your live, Dr. Umar. I want to eat you up. At ease, my queen. At ease, my queen.
It's okay, and it's good to be excited. Like there's some people, if I met them, I would be so hyped. Like I'll be so hyped. But after that, like calm down, and like you don't have to be overly people pleasing to get people to like you. Just be yourself and be normal, and these connections will naturally form, and you'll actually end up connecting with the people who will be the right connections for you instead of forcing surface level networks with every person that you meet. Just be yourself, treat people in general with respect, and you'll already be in a great place to form the strong connections that will naturally come into your life. Now, lastly, pride. Cutting off this source of people pleasing really starts with you ending that internal story of self-perfection, holding yourself to a standard that no one else holds you to, and expecting yourself to be something that is quite literally impossible for you to be as a human being. You have to learn to accept the beauty of imperfection, accept the beauty of your imperfection. Stop expecting yourself to be something that you aren't, and then hoping that other people will reassure you in being that. You have to know that even the God of the universe knows that you are imperfect and expects you to be imperfect and is not mad at you for being imperfect. And if this is the case, as imperfect as us humans are, how much more will we be able to have grace with each other? How much more will the people that actually love you be excited to embrace your imperfections, knowing that y'all can grow together towards a common goal as you continue to progress in healthy relationships. I have truly found that allowing myself to be more imperfect in the way I talk in conversations, in saying the wrong thing, in having the wrong attitude, has brought me the people who are for me and has deepened the friendships that I do have and allowed people to understand me better and allowed me to understand other people better. And while the journey is not easy all the time, being imperfect really does bring you your people. And it also builds a common ground and a trust that allows you to grow, the other person to grow, and it's just a beautiful thing. I really hope that this advice is helpful, has your wheels turning a little bit. I think the narrative of people pleasers is that they are victims. I'm not one anymore, so I'm not addressing myself as a people pleaser, but is that they are victims. When I really think back, people pleasers are not the victims. Yes, people pleasers are more vulnerable to being used, but really, whether that is out of preservation, out of wanting to progress, or out of your own pride, people pleasing is rooted in feeling like something is absent in yourself and trying to take that and get that from other people. And so as you're going throughout this, as much as you might have people around you who maybe don't respect you or who are communicating with you negatively or who are mistreating you, as much as you're growing, they're growing too. And as much as they might be treating you wrong, a big part of letting go of people pleasing is realizing that by being a people pleaser, you are using other people. And so while they might be hurting you, you're also using them. And it takes a great deal of humility and self-growth. And this is why I say, y'all, you need God, because it is hard to do this on your own. I don't know how you would do it on your own, but coming to that realization allows you to start at a much healthier place with your relationships. And instead of stopping people pleasing and then becoming resentful and becoming angry and your heart becoming hard at all of the people who took advantage of your vulnerability, you're aware of how you also took advantage of them and can have these conversations. And if they're reciprocated in a healthy way, bloom them into better relationships. And if they're not reciprocated in a healthy way, then you're at least not storing negative, harmful feelings in your heart, and you're leaving these situations much more healed. And of course, there are nuances to all of this, so take everything that I say with a grain of salt. I am speaking purely from my experiences, what I've learned growing in my faith, and what I've learned from reading, listening to people who've studied this. So take everything with a grain of salt. But I hope that this was encouraging to you. At the end of the day, we all people please sometimes, but if this is a habit for you, it's important to break it. So when you think of your people pleasing habits, are you focused on preservation? Are you focused on progress? Or are you focused on pride? And which of the steps that we discussed today are you going to take back and start to implement in order to heal and grow into your next level? Well, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the I Am podcast. So happy to have you. I love recording in the car because it's so simple. The background is set up, the lighting is set up, it's so easy to edit. I love it so much. Even though it's not as exciting and creative as the cinematic pods, which I've only done 2 of, but I really love them. So let me know how you like them too in the comments down below. But recording in the car is fun, and it's just more like friendly. I don't know, I feel like we're like right here, you know? But yeah, if you enjoyed, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all of the things, and I will see you next episode. Bye. I'm gonna swerve when I ooh, whoa, letting it out.